everybody? I hope that you're still spiritual in this afternoon. Right, let me share what I have understood pertaining to the ethnographic design. I give a title for my presentation this afternoon, revealing in-depth understandings of the phenomenon or generative theories on the cultural basis. Since we deal with ethnographic design. Okay, let's have the first slide. Right, I'm going to present ethnographic design in this outline. We try introductory or introduction section. What is ethnography? We invented it. Why would we use it? When to conduct ethnographic research and the methodology in terms of types of ethnographic design. Key characteristics of ethnographic research set in conducting an ethnographic study, evaluating an ethnographic study, advantages, disadvantages, and examples of ethnographic studies in the reality context. Okay, by having the examples, from articles that report ethnographic study, that we are going to have a clear picture about ethnography design. Right, what is an ethnography? Ethnographic design are qualitative research procedures that there is not only single procedures, but many procedures, right? For describing, analyzing, and interpreting a culture sharing group shared patterns of behavior, action, belief, what people think, and language, what people talk, that develops over time. And again, it also defines by word anchors the methods of observing human interaction in social settings and activities. And also as an observation of people in their cultural context is the basic ideas of ethnography. Then study, is according to Merriam-Webster online dictionary, study and systematic recordings of human culture, also a descriptive work produced from such research. This is some definition, right? Okay, focus. Yes. We have we have understood this, right? Since in our first presentation in qualitative research, we get an idea that yes, in qualitative research, some characteristics have shared characteristics, and sometimes we perceive it as an overlapping, right? So these, the focus, the specific, in ethnographic designs, the culture of groups of people. Assumption. Every human group evolves a culture that guides members' views of the world and the way they structure their experiences. Aim is also very special things in ethnographic designs. Rather than studying people from the outside, you learn from people. Yeah? You learn from people from the inside. So we involve ourselves in the field or in the sites, getting to know them, behave like them, experience with some cultural celebration that they have. So this one, you know him? Right. This a little bit about histories of ethnography. Actually, ethnography, is often associated with anthropology, the studies about human culture. Right, then Bronislaw Malinowski in 1915 spent 3 years on the Trobriand Island, New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, 3 years. Invented modern forms of field work and ethnography and its analytic components. So this documented 3 types of the data, what he had done, right? Okay, as the founder or inventors of these types of research, ethnography. You see how he as the ethnographer, being together with the cultural tribes, tribal culture. You see that? They investigate day-to-day pictures of the tribes, and even as informed by also many ethnographers, spend their time in the tribes, even getting married with the chiefs of the tribes. Yes, I had ever been exposed to a movie as a product of an ethnography study, right? A social linguist, got married with a woman in the tribes, only, want to be native, going native, right, and explore, as many as possible what he actually want to explore, by getting married with the women, women in the tribes, right? It's the dedications of a researcher. What about us, Will we do that? Will we do that? Right? Okay. But they did it, right? And they will do it. See. Okay. Now next. Why do an ethnographic study? Why? This is the answer. Things are not always what they seem. You understand this? Things are not always what they seem. Or, right, Chinese students, quiet, the typical quiet learner. Is that right? Chinese students, because of their cultural influences, seems like quiet learner. Lack of, participation in class. Right? What Chinese? So, is it? Right, so we need to get more information, more exploration, because something does not seem like what we see, right? And then practitioners or native tribes, for example, are not always the best people. Yes, because the lack of insight. They just do their activities like rituals, This is part of their culture without knowing what the embedded value behind their culture. Actually also important, yes, to be explored and to be shared to others, to provide an insight for others. And discovery, there will be, many discoveries, as the ethnographer can explore and could reveal, yes, from the studies about the culture, for example. So it's a broad idea in terms of culture, in relation to the anthropology, but actually, if you relate why then ethnography is adopted into education, to the education field, right? Because we can see that the groups of people, students are also groups of people, teachers also groups of people, right? And home, schools can be as a site of teacher or student do the rituals, teaching learning process as assumed as the rituals. So there are so many contributions in terms of cultural values in students and learning. Particularly, we are going to see it in detail in ELD context. Right, when to conduct an ethnographic research. Yes, these are some reasons or ideas when the studies of a group help you understand a larger issue. Right? Okay, take for example, in my hometown in Pekanbaru, Riau. So Chinese students is always associated with the high English proficiency. In every competition among SFU levels, it's always won by the Chinese student. Debate contest, speech contest, right? And almost in all English competition, Chinese students will be the participants or are the participants compared to the, our ethnics, yes, ethnics like Malay or Japanese, right? Chinese students. So, right, this cultural thing is there. Yes, Chinese. And when you have a cultural sharing group, yes, we have. These are groups of Chinese learners, right? Chinese learners, Chinese students. In terms of what? They share, very high, quality or high proficiency in the English. When you want, yes, and also, yes, when you want a day-to-day pictures of the event and activities of the group, right? We want to know actually what they have experienced with, what they have done so far, what they have performed, what they have, gained. We want to know everything about what they have done till they, levels as a good, student with a high proficiency in English. When you have a long-term access to a cultural sharing groups, as we get permission, yes, or entrance from the gatekeepers, Okay, so we are allowed to stay there. Whether you are going to sit, you are going to be with them all days, or you just come for visit, visit. Okay, a day you visit them, how many hours, right? Yes. Okay. You can do an ethnography research. These all the reasons in terms of ethnography research. And then there are many types actually of ethnographic research, right? But all of them can be summed under three. The first is realist ethnography. Yes? What is realist ethnography? Realist ethnographer narrates study from the third person. The third person, story, retell a story. Okay, narrate from the third person voice, reporting what is observed. Yes, by the researcher. And researcher reports objective data free from personal bias, political goal, or judgment. Right? It's a pure research report from that side. And then researcher produced the participant view through closely edited quotes and has a final words on how the culture is to be interpreted and presented. Okay, we are going to have more clear picture, yes, after comparing with other two types. And the second type is a case study, right? It's interesting, actually we can find case study as one of the types in ethnographic design, right? So what makes it different? So what then, researcher or, researcher finally include case study as an ethnographic case study, yes? The level is ethnographic case study, so it's not included in your PowerPoint, okay? Ethnographic case study. Okay, I will not talk much about it, but it has been presented by Pak Henrik, at the time. Ethnographic case study, a case analysis of person, event, activity, or process, set within a cultural perspective. This is the focus. While in case study, in pure case study, it's only describing, a case in relation, exactly a case as an intrinsic, the case itself, or the case in relation to issue, right? Or the case in relation to multiple issue, cases in relation to multiple issues. But to make it as an ethnographic case study, right? See, we relate it to the focus of the ethnography. This set within a cultural perspective. It's not only describing a series of activities, steps, or events from a case, but there is a general picture in relation to the culture. Later on this, development second, the given article that I'll provide in your handout is one of case study in relation to the ethnography. Right, let's get that. And the two types of ethnography is critical ethnography. Critical. Yes, it's compared to the first, realist. So critical is more things, yes, you see here, used by politically minded researcher. When he says politically minded, he or she will not only reveal what he observed, but also will critically, highlight the issue, yes, as being contradicted, yes, with the political issue, certain area, a certain country. For example, it's about marginalization, right? Inequality, see? Seek to change society, right? And then, what else? Identify and celebrate research bias. All research is a value-laden orientation. All research has meaningful orientation because it's multiple truths. Okay? Challenge status quo and ask, why is it so? Alright, it's status quo, it's something that has been fixed, right? Traditionally goes on, right? But, in a certain time, certain occasion, there will be like reformation or revolutions, right? And ask about the status quo. Yes, that's the idea of status quo. Okay, it can be explored by having or by doing critical ethnography. And create neutral dialogue with participants. Not only reporting, the participant but researcher and participant, work together, in having discussion, yes, to have interpretation. And then this is the procedure, right? Procedural characteristics of critical ethnography. Why? Because this now is the most popular ethnography done by the researcher, right? It highlights social issues include power, empowerment, inequality, dominance, repression, hegemony, and victimization. Perhaps you still remember, yes, about language student minority, language student majority in the mainstream school, how language minority student is depicted in the classroom, right? They are inactive students, right? Now, let's see, we want to give the voice and we want to explore what happened actually to them, right? Collaborate actively with participants and negotiate final report. Self-conscious about their own interpretation, reflexive and self-awareness of their role, non-neutral. You see non-neutral here because it's not like in realist ethnography. In critical ethnography, so the researcher will advocate, the participant that he or she observed. Yes, something which is not treated well, which is treated unfairly, will be advocated by the researcher. Yes, and then so that's why in the reports interpretation, so the researcher will use contradictions, undesirables, and tension. Yes. And of course, provide also the example in the given article in your handout. Right, that's among 3 types, but they share the same characteristics in this point. It's also the important notion of characteristics of ethnography research. First, an ethnography research, must have a cultural theme, and cultural theme derived from culture anthropology. As what I told you, everything is not seen what we see. No, like why Chinese student quiet? Why? Okay, and then cultural sharing group. There must be a group of people that share the same patterns of the culture. Examinations of check patterns, behavior, action, belief, things, the way how they think, and language, the way how they talk. And data collection through field works, yes, is identical to the ethnographic design, even though some other researchers also adopt these kinds of characteristics. And group context or setting, it's also very important to be highlighted in, yes, because, the researcher or ethnographer explore the phenomenon from this side, from this setting, and researcher reflexivity. Okay, these cultural themes, I think I'm going to skip it. Okay, later on we are going to understand it together with analyzing the given articles. Okay, like this. Later on, yes. Okay. Now, let's go to this to get the clear information. Yes? Okay. I analyze this article in line with the key characteristics. So you may keep, the slide, of the key characteristics of ethnographic design, because some are the types of ethnographic design, will share the same characteristics. Okay, now evaluate the key. Let's evaluate the key characteristics of an ethnographic design in 2 selected articles that are provided there in ethnographic studies in the ELT content. Remember, it's very important. Remember that ethnographic research does not always fit cleanly, does not always fit cleanly to the category. We claim it as a realist ethnography, but in fact, after reading through the article, so we'll not get the article exactly belong to the realist ethnography types, or even the researchers say that these kinds of ethnographic cases. But after going through the text, read and analyze, we cannot does not always fit cleanly into the category, but they share some characteristics of the ethnographic characteristics. Okay, this about cultural thing must be, it's fallacies, something that must be in ethnographic studies. Cultural theme. From the title, cultural theme can be, announced by the researcher from the title or at the first or introduction part of the research report. Okay, cultural theme. Why are students quiet? Looking at the Chinese context and beyond. You get the sense of culture there, right? Okay. And then, this is the abstract. Okay. It's very interesting actually to know about this. Okay. This paper is a part of a larger project of teacher-student interaction. Okay, this behavior, patterns of behavior, yes. And the contextual issues, context setting, you see that, right? Which shape them. It reported that repetitions of English measure, right, is caused by the communicative environment that the teacher creates in their interaction with their students. Right. Okay, you get the sense of cultural theme there. Next analysis. Still, we found information underlined parts of the sentence there. It still indicates the cultural themes. Yes? In the most existing literature, China's learners of English are portrayed as British kids and quiet individuals. They are reluctant to participate in classroom activities. They hardly volunteer in class. They seldom answer. Let alone initiate questions. Even if they answer, they give brief replies. They seldom speak up about their opinion. Yes, even if they have one and they hold back from expressing their views. Right, just culturally depicted. Yes, now the behaviors, the patterns of behaviors of Chinese students. Right. And then context of settings. You see here, Chinese student inactive, okay. Okay, also context of setting can be based on the political, history, religion. It's not only the physical context like classroom, no. Context can be based on politics, can be based on economy, can be based on religion, okay. And also this is kind of context. And then, you see, culture sharing group there. Culture sharing group is also one of the characteristics, yes, in ethnographic research. This is a case study of two English teachers. A case study, the researcher labeled these as case study. In English classes at China University, it involves case studies of two integrated reading instruction. Yeah, they have, because both of them are, two integrated reading instructors and their respective fluency English major classes. So means that, yes, both teachers have the same, focus, have the same skill, right? Okay. That can be indicated as a cultural sharing group. And for the field work, yes, it's one also important key, right? In ethnographic study, you see that the data were collected through observation, audio and video typing, and stimulated reflection across 2.5 month periods. Yes, actually it's not quite long the time actually for an ethnographic study. Okay. Even read some article, the researcher, can spend more than 2 years, yes, in collecting data, in doing your field works, right? In terms of in the social, if I read an article, it's about ethnography of communications. It had been done almost more than 2 years, in collecting, when the researcher deal with the field work. And then researcher reflexivity, these also important characteristics. Yes, what's that? We find here. In the stimulated reflection, both teachers and the chosen student were asked to view video clips of the lesson and reflect and comment about their interactive behavior. It means that the researcher open discussions, right, to other influential participants. It's not making interpretation by his own, but also invite others. Okay, next. This is also important activity, analyzing patterns of behavior, belief, and language. Yes, and the ideas of the ethnography characteristics. So I underline that, and up to this theme, revealing the theme. Why then? Chinese students are quiet. This is all the reason, revealed by the researcher as a team. So we get better understandings of the phenomena from that cultural theme. Why? Yes, this control over classroom interaction. Yes, the data demonstrated that both case study teachers impose tight thematic control over classroom interaction in 4 ways. It's not only cultural basis, but there is a certain particular interaction between teacher and student that finally shape this and shape the situation where students become less active, quiet classroom session, because they adhere to their own regimented plans. They elaborate on student contribution whenever possible. They evaluated student replace in matters of opinion, even opinion. Everyone can share the opinion. It's a free, right? But the teacher there, evaluate, okay? And they decide upon the relevance of student initiative ideas. So these things actually, contribute to our better understandings about the cultural themes of Chinese students being quiet in the classroom. Right. Conclusion. And also, there is a researcher reflexivity also in that part. So what is the appropriate degrees of variability that Chinese teachers or indeed teachers from other cultures should allow for in order to expand the patterns of classroom communication? Right, it's kinds. Because raising question from researcher can be one example of researcher reflexivity. Okay? Right, I think I've spent my time, so 25 minutes. Alright, and actually I have another, right? So you see here, interpretation, yes, it's still the same continuations of that journal. Interpretation, okay. The finding revealed that student passive speech group did not seem to be solely attributable to their cultures of learning, limited language resources, or anxieties of some researcher, as some researcher like Z. Jackson have done, they have claimed, but also to an absence of opportunities for interaction as a result of too much teacher control. Yes, actually, get that. And then, what that suggested, in order to raise the qualities of teacher-student interaction, a starting point might be a reflexive approach. You see here, it's non-neutral positions of the researcher, because researcher here seems to advocate the students as the subjects of his or her ethnography. Okay, study. Right. Okay, non-neutral position, advocate for the change. This by highlighting the suggestions in which teacher gather data about the interaction behavior, examine their belief about language and language teaching, and then critically reflect on their discourse practices to see how their epistemologies are reflected in this and how they shape their student belief. These the ideas of critical ethnography actually. While, yes, before we got information that the researcher claimed this is a case study, but then we assume that it's kind of ethnographic case study, but finally it also shared the ideas of critical ethnography. Yes, this is a source. And another one example I also have analyzed, and you may follow what I've done. Okay, this is my time is up now. Thank you. I think that's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Just one question if necessary. Many questions. One person only. Okay, that can end the presentation. If you look at the article, last article is from ELT, you don't have to show it. You can see that that is an indication of a reputable journal. ELT published about 63 years ago. Not just 3 years ago. Okay? Look at that.
That's always
You know, ERT, the last one. That's what? Volume 64, 2010. Okay? 64 years ago in 2010. So I think you have to, either you get information or you want to think about getting the ideas. I think reputable journals indicated by that kind of thing. Not the last 5 years established. Okay, I think that can end the topic presentation on qualitative research and the general comment. My comment and your comment would be in the wrap-up meeting on December 3rd. Thank you very much. Okay. As the end, I think you get the idea about overlapping what is principles of qualitative research. You talk about ethnographic study, but then you suddenly have case study with it. You also have other characteristics set by other research science. Again, the focus is more on the cultural setting. No related studies. Let's now start with the third round of our semester. That is the first round is on statistics, the second round is qualitative topics, and then the third round here is dissertation plan. Okay, so again, I think I told you before. Then clarification, I think given by Guru Gita as my answers to her question. 3 alternative topics, but one is elaborative. Okay. Now, for the sake of fulfilling my requirement, I think it's going to be easy, but you still have time, don't worry, okay? So at least you will get the experience or get the idea about which topic you think you can develop further. Because in the second semester, you still have other courses helping you to get the ideas about the topic. What I mean by topic is the area that you want to investigate. And then the third semester is going to be the right time for you to develop the topic that you will present today, then you will develop again in the second semester, then at the end of the third semester, you are supposed to submit your dissertation proposal, hopefully to be accepted as the proposal for your qualifying exam in the beginning of the fourth semester. So it's still a long way to go. So if I give you not really warm positive feedback, you don't have to worry. But I cannot really give you a wrong impression by saying, okay, that's good, okay, continue, that's really good, continue, something like that. So don't expect me to say that. And you will be happy if I do that, but temporarily, you know what I mean? It's not going to be good. So that's just reservation, because I cannot really change the way I have to say. I have to be honest. I think honesty is my merchandise. You don't understand? I don't have any exercise. Self. And if you are not reading, you agree with me?
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yes.
Yeah. You can start. Look at that.